What's up, CPA? I'm Dylan.
And I'm Sophia, and it's Musical Week at CPA.
We're here to host the next episode of the CPA Media Studios series Soundcheck Into the Woods edition.
Into the Woods is a musical following the story of your favorite fairy tale characters, like Cinderella, Little Red Riding Hood, the baker and his wife, and Jack and the Beanstalk, who all set off on a journey to break the Wicked Witch's evil curse.
Everyone's wish may be granted, but the consequences of their actions return to haunt them later with catastrophic results.
One might say there's a twist, so buckle up because this fairy tale is unlike any other.
I remember watching this movie with my sister a couple years back, and I'm just curious what characters you guys are and what's your favorite onstage moment?
A super cool thing that I'm sure you guys are going to notice when you watch it is that there's certain trumpets that almost announce the arrival of a character on stage. The entire musical, you'll see repetition of certain plots that are going on. For example, Isaiah's plot, whenever you hear this certain melody, if you would like to give us a bonk, 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 bonk. You always know that it has something to do with the beat, and you always know a prince is coming on stage if you hear the little.
My favorite moment as Little Red is actually a little strange because there's not any talking during it. Whenever I'm on stage with the witch, Elisa, she is mourning over someone who is really close to her. She has this moment where she's singing really heartfelt about how children don't listen, and my character is having to go through this whole thing where she didn't listen to her own mother. It's kind of this cool moment where it's just mother-daughter, except we're just both seeing different people through each other's eyes.
Probably one of my favorite moments is when I get to sit down and talk to Cinderella. It feels like a very older sister, younger sister moment, and I do kind of consider Lila to be like a sister to me, so it's just fun to have that moment.
There's a moment in Act 2, it's kind of in an all is lost moment, but the song is called No One Is Alone. It's basically about how no matter what you do, what you say, where you are never alone. For us, that's even if maybe we're literally all by ourselves, we still have God with us. We will still have, the people who love us in our hearts, and I feel like that's a really important reminder.
Since the giant is in the play and is a big part of the play, obviously we can't fit a 300-foot tall giant in the theater, so we do a lot of things with props to use more your imagination to see what they are and not actually fit a whole giant in the theater.
You get sort of this twist, and it falls more into temptation and this darkness that each of us has inside of us. So you might be in the woods, you might be having a fine time looking for what you want next, but that's never going to be fulfilling enough, and you're always going to want to go back in and want more. I think the twist really just shows us as sinners and our need of a savior.
So you bring up a good point. I know this musical is a fairy tale, but I hear there's a plot twist in part 2. Can you tell us a little bit about how the plot twist relates to the overall theme of the play?
I also think that another theme in the show is definitely about just the woods themselves and how it represents life. All of these characters in the beginning of the show, they're getting into the woods and they're doing it without fear. They don't think that anything is gonna bad happen to them, and that's kind of supposed to represent your childhood and you getting ready for the world. At the end of Act 1, they sing the song called Ever After, and it seems like it should be the end of the show, and then the narrator comes out and she says to be continued. And the next act, there are more conflicts, and things get progressively more dark in Act 2, like in the twist that you were saying. You keep learning that, you're always gonna want more, you're always gonna wish more. And then at the end, when the conflict is resolved and they've learned even more about life, she comes out in the end and she says, I wish at the very end, which is supposed to be thought-provoking how it still goes on. The story doesn't end with happily ever after.
So this being a musical, obviously there's a lot of songs and lyrics, but which one stands out to you guys?
One of my favorite songs in the show is It Takes Two, and that's Baker's Wife and Baker's Duet. It's a realization of a couple who has been going through some hard times, but realizing that they just need to hold on to each other closer to get through them rather than push each other apart.
My favorite song to do would definitely be Your Fault, just because it's so much fun musically. We're just on stage and we're accusing each other and we're saying, you're the problem, we're ignoring the actual issue. It just has a lot of meaning under it, how we're always pointing the finger at someone and how we can't seem to point the finger at ourselves ever, even when it's necessary.
If there is one thing that CPA Arts has taught me to do, it's not only to hold firm to my faith as a performer, but it has also prepared me to go into the woods.
Posse in the woods!